Scott Hollenbeck. Trail running is a sport that involves running along hiking trails at great distances. Scott spent a year running up and down the hills of California, and after a long hiatus, he's lacing up his running shoes and getting back out on the trail. Today, he is going to talk about the particular form of running, or this particular form of running, and why it's not only enjoyable, but is something that human beings were innately born to do. Please welcome Scott as he speaks. You actually enjoy running, you just hate what you think running is. Thank you, Scott.
What's the time?
8 to 10 minutes.
The topic of running normally garners the same response from most people. Ugh, I hate running. Running is the worst. As I'm sure most of you right now are conjuring images of your head of what you think running is like. A long, flat asphalt road there that only leads to pain and drudgery. And you will swear up and down that you hate to run, but I would be willing to bet that if we hopped into a time machine right now and went back to an elementary school recess for anybody here in this room, we wouldn't find somebody mindlessly trudging around a high school track. We would find somebody running around a playground, jumping over obstacles, and most importantly, having a complete and utter blast. Trail running isn't done on the knee-busting sidewalks of the suburbs, but on the more leg-friendly dirt trails of mountains, deserts, and parks. And to love it, you really need to find that inner child in you that really likes to run like crazy. Today I'm going to talk about trail running, how I got involved, or how I got interested in general, why I believe that it's something that's ingrained in all of us, and finally talk a little bit about why running is such a miserable experience for most of us. In 2009, I read a book by Christopher McDougall called Born to Run. It changed my entire point of view of running. In it, it's the author's own story of exploring running in the most indigenous regions of Mexico. It's a group. He follows a group called the Tarahumara, who can run very long distances at a time. The longest being around 400 miles, or equivocally running from New York to Detroit. These distances aren't just found in Mexico. These are historically found everywhere, including everyone here is probably familiar with the distance from from Marathon to Athens that we associate with the 26.2 mile marathon today. But Philippides, who made that trip, actually that was only the second half of Philippides' trip. The first half was a 150-mile round trip from Sparta to ask for reinforcements. He also died after running the 176 miles. It's always good to pace yourself. I think it's understandable to question evolution. If you take stock of your current faculties, it's hard to kind of comprehend how we made it to the top of the food chain. Against a lion or a bear, what kind of resources do I have to take something on like that on? My fingernails have a hard time piercing an orange. How am I going to take on a bear or a lion? I'm here to tell you that what made us great, or what got us to the top of the food chain, is long distance running. Now you might be saying to yourself, well, that's great and all, but you might think that we're the greatest long distance running animals on the planet, but have you ever tried running up to, or trying to catch my dog when he sees a squirrel in the yard? Or what about a horse? They're not measuring these cars on people power. Well, first off, the top dog in the running world would be a Siberian Husky. And those dogs are only run those kinds of distances because we force them to do it in a group. And they also have the added benefit of doing it in cooler temperatures. The question of the horse, however, is one that's been around for a lot longer. In fact, there's been many races in the past, and they usually stem from the same place, a drunken bet. An idea that I can beat this horse. And it isn't until the last kind of 20 years until we started actually putting elite athletes against these horses that we actually saw it's a bit of a toss-up. Sometimes a horse wins and sometimes a human win. But on paper and on a flat track, a horse can run at a canter of around 13 miles per hour, while an elite human being, can maintain speeds of up to 14.5 miles per hour. Again, we're not talking about sprinting, we're talking about endurance. The greatest runner on the planet, Usain Bolt, has a top speed of around 27.5 miles per hour. But the common house cat has a running speed of 30 miles per hour. A dog's around 40, horses are around 55, and all hail the cheetah, the fastest land mammal running on Earth, at 61 miles per hour. But let's get back to what we are talking about. We are talking about endurance, and that is something to achieve the top speeds of a sprinter. What you need, there are a couple things you need. You need 4 legs. You need 4 legs that run on the ground, and you also need organs in your body that flow around. Like for example, a cheetah's organs actually flow in their body like bath toys in a tub. That's actually not my metaphor. That's a metaphor from the book Born to Run, but I love that metaphor. I thought of that metaphor. The reason you want these flowing organs is if you take a tight turn around 60 miles per hour, you don't want anything to break or to damage. We're not built like that. We're built for endurance. Our organs are compact. We are built for efficiency. And most importantly, we sweat. And one of the main factors for the reasons that we are stewards of this plan is because we have these superior air conditioning systems. While most animals would be taken to the shade, while we would be like those jerks, the hyenas. We would be venturing out forth and being able to get food in like the middle of the day or under the hot sun. If you want to know on the food chain exactly where a animal ranks, look at their eyes. So animals that are more commonly prey will have evolved to the point where their eyes will be more scoping off to their sides, while predators have their eyes a little bit more directed forward. You see this not just in land, but in ocean too. Fish, shark. And the reason this is important, or a reason to understand this, is our human intelligence is largely attributed to these frontal lobes that we got. And we got that mostly by getting a bunch of protein. Now, while horses were taking their speed to run away and go out and eat some hay, we were taking down animals. And how were we doing? And this leads right to the exact point that I'm trying to get to here, which is long distance running is what made us great hunters. It's called persistence hunting. While a lion or like a tiger might spend like days on end and not get a meal, our ancient ancestors would run out and track, hunt, and run down prey to the point where a herd of animals until you had one pass out or die from exhaustion. And a very easy way to do that. And it wouldn't take too long, either about 4 to 6 hours of running, which a normal runner nowadays is something that they're very capable of doing. But if running goes together like peanut butter and jelly, running and human beings go together like peanut butter and jelly, why do most of us hate it so much? The first and foremost thing I would say to that is shoe companies. The shoes that we wear today are terrible for our running gait. Arch support and cushioning are 2 of the biggest factors. And arch support can probably be a little bit understandable. Most of us would probably try to squeeze ourselves into a foot or to a shoe that contours strangely, and we try to walk around in it. Cushioning sounds a little bit stranger. Like, why would cushioning be bad? And the way I would describe that to you is, if you imagine jumping up and then landing on a flat surface, how easy that is for you. But then imagine jumping up and then landing on a mattress, and how that would make your knee buckle, or kind of like a soft or a grip. I can get very passionate about this, by the way. So if for some reason I've inspired you to kind of think about changing up your shoes, don't do something like that immediately. I once expressed to my friend to do that, and she ended up running 18 miles barefoot, and she also had to end up getting a cortisone shot, and she was off the road for a month. I still feel guilty about this. What does a good shoe actually look like? They stopped making good shoes in the 70s. So these types of shoes, I love a good Chuck Taylor, and I wish I could just wear these all the time. A flat shoe with no arch support and just a little minimal amount of padding, so you're not just you're feeling every rock that you walk around the road. Not to mention, a lot of us sit during the day, and that kind of sitting it's also just as terrible for your running gait. And if you want to see a proper running gait, and the other thing is a lot of people don't know how to run, so you think I see a lot of people land flat while they're running, or worse, land on their heel. That's not what you want. A real running stance is more of a ballerina move, where your front foot and your middle your foot kind of grip the road, and your heel barely touches, and it pedals back to your butt. Like I said earlier today, like some of the most excited runners that we have are children or kids. And it's no surprise that they have the best kind of running gait. If you're interested in what real running gait looks like, watch kids run. Like kids have perfect running gait. I hope my speak today might give you a little bit of interest in taking another look at running, and I hope I've inspired some of you to give it another look. Thank you.